Hello my lovelies, and welcome back to part 3 of our May 2024 Deck Strength versus Weakness series. Our featured deck of the month is the Magical Dogs Tarot by Daniel and Mickey Mueller. And today we're going to cover oracles that pair perfectly with this deck. So, quick recap: the strength of this deck is shadow work. The weakness of this deck is self-care. I also call this my pain to gain deck, simply because the job it has is to tell me what is on the other side of the shadow work, what is beneficial or what is to be had by doing said work. So, we're going to go ahead and start with indie decks. I've got 4 indie, 4 mass market to show you, and I will list more in the description box down below. Let's see how quickly we can get through these. This is the Umbrella Tree Press deck, Fairytale Oracle. This is a Kickstarter. I'm not sure if everyone remembers this one or not. I actually quite enjoy it. It's fairy tales from all around the world. And you get the actual fairy tale as well as a keyword that goes with it. And when I say a deck pairs or does not pair, it has nothing to do with the aesthetics. It's about the energy of the deck. So please note that yes, these two do not look remotely the same in artwork, but they do actually pair. And the reason why these two pair is because they have the same strength of shadow work. So if you need one that has pretty interesting keywords and you don't mind a fairy tale theme, this might be up your alley. Alright, and we're going to move right along to our next deck. This is going to be Haley's deck. This is From Roots to Blooms. And this is more of almost a monochrome deck. It's black, white, and there's a little bit of green in it. But for the most part, it's dual color, very minimalistic. Yes, you get a lot of wording. I figured maybe this was heavy earth energy, it'd be rejected by the Magical Dogs Tarot, or it would see it more kind of like an affirmation deck and reject it for that. But as different as these two decks are, they actually share a weakness. They don't do self-care, which is kind of interesting for a weakness for this particular deck. But they have that as common ground, so they can skew off in different areas for what they don't have in common. So this might be an interesting duo, let's put it that way, if you want to try it out. Alright, now we're going to keep on moving on. Here's another Kickstarter indie deck. This is Seraphina's deck from Ruin Vervain. This is the Earth, Moon, and Shadow Oracle. I particularly love this deck. I fell in love with it very quickly after I got it. Once again, this is about the energy, not about the aesthetics. As you can see, artwork is completely different. And on this particular deck, you do get a key phrase and then 2 to 4 keywords along with it. So it has a lot of jumping off points, which is really great. And despite the name of this being the Earth, Moon, and Shadow, it's not the fact that these two are shadow work decks that they get along. No, in fact, it's the fact that they both share the same weakness. They don't do self-care. They're not that great at it. So I'll let you guys ponder that one as to what these two are capable of doing together, now that you know the one deck that says shadow right in the name is not a shadow deck. It is quite interesting. Alright, moving right along. This is the Divina Serenity Oracle by Christopher Lee Studio Design. This is an indie deck. Yes, it is an AI deck. It actually has a lot of great keywords in it. I love the keywords in this deck. And once again, it's about the energy, not the aesthetics, because as you can see, the aesthetics are miles apart. Actually feels like kind of worlds apart, to be honest. They don't really feel like they coincide with each other. And yet, these two decks get along swimmingly. And the reason why is because they have the same strength of shadow work. On that note, they also share the same weakness of self-care. So sharing both the same strength and the same weakness, they actually do fairly well together despite anything else. Now, when I say a deck has the same strength as weakness as the other, does not mean that this is the only strength or the only weakness of this deck just because it matches with this one. So, please note that anytime I say that, the deck in question can still be featured for this particular series, because oftentimes there's some hidden surprises. Alright, we are actually now going to move on to mass market. And the first one I'm going to show you, you'll probably recognize just by the shape. This is Ray Hepburn's The Tea Leaf Oracle. It's a fun little round deck. And I kind of wondered if this was going to get rejected because of artwork. I mean, there's different animals in it, there's interesting keywords or phrases in it. The artwork's completely different, and yes, sometimes decks do reject because of artwork. Yes, decks can also be petty too. It's totally fine. It kind of goes with the situation. And it took me a minute to realize that the reason why these two actually work is because they have the same strength and the same weakness. So they function in the same arena but operate a little bit differently. Their jobs are different. This is actually a combo that I probably need to utilize a bit more often, to be honest. Alright, and we're going to move right along. We're going to bring up a Chris Ann's deck now. This is the Sacred Creators Oracle. Now, a lot of tarot decks often have issues with oracles or affirmation decks, and Sacred Creators can be utilized like that. Some decks also have issues with chakra decks, which some people actually use this as a chakra deck. However, these two get along and just fine, which is interesting for something that can equate to an affirmation deck. I actually had to sit there for a minute to think on why these two work. And it's kind of interesting as to why. They're both divine masculine decks. So this is kind of the anomaly when it comes to an almost affirmation deck and being able to pair with Magical Dogs Tarot. It sees it as kindred, I guess you could put it. And considering what the Sacred Creators covers, that's an interesting aspect when you're dealing with shadow work, creative endeavors, creative blocks, etc. Might be worth for some of you to try. Moving right along, here is a Kyle Gray deck. You guys probably recognize this one. It's a very common deck. This is the Angels and Ancestors Oracle. It's another one that I quite enjoy, and it does kind of function almost like a tarot, because there are some equivalents to tarot in this particular deck. So it kind of makes it anomaly as an oracle in a way. And this is an interesting mix when it comes to interaction, because they do operate differently, and the only reason why they do pair is because they share the same weakness. They don't do self-care very well. It is their weak point. So with that said, this is a combo that can go in quite a few different directions, can cover quite a lot of ground, which makes it interesting. Alright, I have one more deck to show you, my lovelies, and then we are done for the day. And you may or may not recognize the backings of this particular deck. This is the Sacred Earth Oracle. I actually quite enjoy the artwork for this deck, even though it is very vivid, it is very bright, and it does have some interesting keywords. Some decks love the keywords, some decks hate the keywords on this. However, this particular deck does have a lot of earth energy, hence the name Sacred Earth. I was expecting these two not to get along. I was expecting this to be rejected. Number one, too much earth energy. Two, maybe an issue with the keywords. Three, definitely the artwork. And yet, they pair. And that's because they share the same strength. They both do shadow work. So, if you are one of those people that do have a tendency to like different types of artwork, and the Magical Dogs is not in your alley for trying to pair aesthetically and have it be visible for you on a table, and yet you want a shadow work deck that kind of does the same thing but you prefer oracles, give the Sacred Earth Oracle a try. Maybe it might be something better for you to utilize. Alright, my lovelies. And that is all the decks I have to show for you today. Tomorrow we'll be covering anti-pairs. We'll get into tarot, and then the day after we will get into oracles. I will list the rest of the oracles that perfectly pair with the Magical Dogs in the description box down below. I will also link the 2 previous portions of this series for the Magical Dogs in the description box down below. And if you would like to play catch up on this series for the other decks I have featured, not this one, you can look at my playlist, Deck Strength versus Weakness, Perfect Pairs, and Anti-Pairs. So please utilize that. And we are featuring the Unfolding Path Tarot for the month of June. And July's poll is up in my community tab. So if you are interested in determining a deck, you can go there and vote. Alright, my lovelies, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.